All right. So uh, in your Cengage homework, there is this little graphing feature right here. I just wanted to go over how we use it because it can be a little confusing. So the first one says plot the point in the number plane. The point is 1, 6. If I want to plot a point, I come down here, click on this little point looking thing, make sure it's highlighted, and then I'm going to go over 1, up 6, and it's going to plot the point for me. So that's how we go about plotting points. And I can plot a couple of points. I can plot a point here, point over here. It's all good. If I've plotted too many points, I can actually take them away by deleting them using this feature right here. So we want to make sure we understand what the question's asking. In this case, we just want to plot a point, and that's how we plot points using this graphical feature. There's several of them. Let's talk about this one right here, number 18. It wants us to plot half of a point, 5.5, -4.5. Well, we don't see half tick marks here. So if we're going to go to half, we just go halfway between the two numbers it should be between. 5.5, that is right in between 5 and 6. So I'm going to click on my point icon, right in between 5 and 6. That's where I want that point to be. But I also need it to be -4.5. So I come down, -4. That's between -4 and 5. I'm going to plot my point right there. So now I've got this point right here, 5.5, -4.5. And if you see when I hover over it, it tells me that that point's at 5.5, -4.5. So that's how we'll plot half points when we see those. When we get to a question like number 20, it says draw the graph of the equation. So this time we're drawing a graph. I have x plus y is equal to 7. This is a straight line. The only thing we're going to see in this class are straight lines. So there's a couple of ways that I can go about doing this. Easiest way, in my opinion, is to plot 2 points first. So x plus y equals 7. I can plot the intercepts real easily. If x equals 0, y is equal to 7. So I have a point here at 0, 7. When y is equal to 0, x is equal to 7. So I've got the point 7, 0. Both of these points are going to fall on my line. And then what I need to do to create the line is I need to come up to this little line looking thing. I'm going to click on it, and then I'm going to click on the 2 arrows again. Since it's a line, it needs to be 2 arrows. And you'll see that it's highlighted in blue with the 2 arrows. Then I'm going to click on the first point. I'm going to click on the second point, and it's going to draw the line right in between. So now I've drawn the line of the graph. If you have the points on there, it should not mark it wrong. If you're having troubles with that, make sure your points are right, and then you can always delete the points as followed using that little X button right there. So that's how we graph a line using this type of thing. Let's see, I think there's another mild oddity that we might see. Let's see if I can find it. Let's take a look at number 34. The voltage V in an electrical circuit varies according to the equation V is equal to 18 minus 4, where T is in seconds. Graph the equation for non-negative values of V. So this one's a little bit tricky. Here's why it's a little bit tricky. It gives us a condition in the problem. The values of V must be non-negative. So we're used to dealing with X and Y, but now we're dealing with T and V. So we can think of V as the Y variable and T as the X variable. So now we want to plot these and make sure that we have them at the appropriate places. And we also want to make sure that we're not plotting any values that give us a negative value for V, which means that when T is equal to 0, V is equal to -4. So I can't plot that point 0, -4. That is not a sufficient value, because if I plot this point right here when T is equal to 0, V is equal to 4, V is now negative, and I can't have that. So there's a couple of ways I can go about that. The first way is let V equal 0. When I let V equal 0, I add 4 to both sides. I get 4 is equal to 8t. Divide by 8, I get t is equal to 1/2. So when V is equal to 0, t is equal to 1/2. So I can plot that point right there. I hover over it. I've got 0.50. So that gives me 1 point, and it puts me on that 0 point right there. That's not a negative number. And then I can just let t equal 1 and solve for V. When t is equal to 1, I get 8 minus 4. V is equal to 4. So now I have my 2 points here. But I want to do something a little bit different, right? I don't want this line to extend to infinity, because then it's going to graph some of the negative values. So I'm going to click on this little half line, or the ray right here, and I'm going to use that. I'm going to click down on this point, click on this point, and now it's only going to plot the positive versions of that function. So that's how we go about doing that. We want to make sure we read this key aspect right here, non-negative values, because sometimes there are conditions that show up, and it shows up in the next question as well. So there's a couple of those where we want to be a little bit careful when we're going about graphing those things. And that's it. Very simple. Just wanted to make sure you all know, because it can be a little confusing, especially when we start graphing the lines, and then especially when they give us these little non-negative conditions that we have to see. So that's it. Good luck. Let me know if you have any questions.